Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga. Welcome. This is Soft Flow Yoga. It's a 60-minute gentle yoga practice. So our class today is called Get Up and Dance. So I'm calling it that because we're going to be featuring dancer pose. It's a balancing posture, but I thought what we do with this practice and this pose is really make it simple, or try to make it as simple as possible. It involves balancing. It also involves some knee bends and a very minor back bend. And so we'll be leading up to that particular posture. We'll practice bending our knees and just check in with how our knees bend. We'll do a little bit of balancing and of course a back bend before we move into that pose. So for your main prop, you might want to have something to help you balance. That might be a table, a chair, a wall, a desk, anything that's next to you just to help you stand on one foot. And then the other things you might need, just a blanket or towel, something soft that you can sit and kneel on, or even a pillow. I've got a yoga strap here. If you've got something that resembles a yoga strap, it could be a belt, a jump rope, something long. This also can help with the dancer pose. I'll do it without the strap and with the strap, okay? So we have our strap there, and then of course a couple of yoga blocks if you happen to have those. It could be a couple of hardbound books, even some soft pillows, small pillows. And then, of course, I like to have my big bolster. I like to have that just in case. We won't be needing it necessarily in this practice, but it's nice to have, either just for sitting or even lying down in Shavasana. So let's go ahead and begin. We'll start in a seated position. Feel free to sit on some cushions or your folded blanket. You want to sit up as tall as you can here. A nice lengthened spine. Maybe take a moment just to kind of circle the shoulders. That's another body part that's going to be involved in our dancer pose. So let's just limber up those shoulders a little bit, circle them back, circle them forward, and then just settle into breath. You might start with a few deep breaths. Breathe in fully through your nose and exhale completely through your mouth. Again, you might inhale completely, full breath in, and a complete breath out. And just settle into steady, slow breaths. This can be done with your eyes opened if you'd like, and if your eyes are opened, just gaze forward, even slightly downward at the floor. Just a soft gaze is good. Or you can close your eyes and just continue your meditation and your journey inward. Just a moment to really tune in, to fully arrive in the space. Feel grounded and connected. As you're breathing, just feel your breath. Pay attention to how your body is responding to your breath. Perhaps the rise and fall of your chest. With the exhale, you might even draw your belly in gently to connect to your core, your center. Also listen to the sound of your breath. So if it's a little soft, just turn up the volume a little bit. These are just some simple things to help you stay mindful and connected. Good. And just hold for a few more breaths. Let's take 3 more breaths in and out, using these breaths to prepare the body to move. And we'll start with a very simple movement. And when you're ready, inhale and extend your arms out across the room with good effort, like you're going to touch the walls. Then all the way up to touch the ceiling. That completes the inhale. And as you exhale, draw your belly in to connect to your core. As you extend your arms out, touch the walls. And finish the breath, bringing the arms back down by your side. Let's do that again. So an inhale to extend your arms out. Good effort. Reach, a nice stretch quality. Reach up for the ceiling. Exhale, draw inward through the belly, and extend the arms out. Let them float back down by your side. Go ahead and continue on your own. Breathe and move at your own pace. This very simple movement, guided by breath, still feeling the breath move through your body, being very aware of how the breath is moving your body, and continue to listen to the sound of your breath. Check in with your shoulders. Notice how this feels for you. Again, as we move into dancer pose a little bit later in the practice, it does involve our shoulders. Feel the lengthening through the sides of the body. Good. Finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. Take your time. And when you're complete, you can just bring your arms back down by your side and relax completely. Return to stillness. Feel the breath. Listen to the sound of your breath. While still seated, it's going to bring the hands behind you. We're going to move into a seated back bend. So dancer pose does involve a back bend, and I like this version of our back bend, and we'll be doing another one later, but just a seated back bend. So bring your hands behind you, just prop yourself up onto your fingertips. With the arms back behind you, also draw the shoulders back. Again, shoulder work. So with the shoulders rolled back, tip the chin up slightly. So we're creating a lot more space across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. Now the effort. We'll inhale, press into the ground with the fingertips. Feel the energy shoot up the arms. Feel the breath rise to fill your lungs. Very expansive feeling. Fill yourself up. Then exhale, draw belly in, squeezing inward, engaging the abdominal muscles. Again, breathing in, feel the energy in your arms, breath rising, filling up the lungs. We've created this mild back bend. Exhale, draw belly in, and as you're able, squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. You might feel kind of this contraction of the upper back muscles. And with the heart lifting up, chin tipped up slightly, in a slight leaning back feeling, we've created a heart opener or back bend. 2 more breaths. And then when you're complete, just lower your chin so your neck is neutral. Walk your hands towards yourself so you're sitting up tall. And you just bring your arms forward and just let them rest in your lap for a moment. Come back to stillness and take a breath. And for a counter pose, since we just did a back bend, let's do a forward fold. We like to change our leg posturing here. If your legs are crossed, we're going to come to cobbler's pose. Let's just bring in the soles of the feet together. Knees bent here. Now, it's okay if the knees don't touch the floor. You can just use some pillows, books, or blocks. Now, this also, because this involves a knee bend, remember earlier I said that dancer pose does involve a knee bend. So check in right here. Here's our first check-in with the knees. If you're able, you can really pull the heels in close to your pelvis. That just means the knee is going to bend more. Still use the blocks or books here for resting. If that's too much of a bend in the knees, it's perfectly fine to send the feet forward. You might even have more of a right angle in the leg here, and it might feel a bit more natural for the knees. Okay, so just find that comfortable bend of the knees there. And then just go ahead and hold on to your ankles or shins so you can sit up nice and tall. Here we go. We're going to inhale and just feel like your torso and spine are being lifted up into the air. Exhale, draw belly in. We're engaging our core. We're going to lead with the heart and chin coming forward just a little bit, not too much. You can still hold on to the ankles, but if you're getting closer to the feet, you might just grab hold of the feet. Inhale, more extension through the spine at this angle. Exhale, draw belly in for more support. Still leading with the heart and chin, hinge forward a tiny bit more. My back is still relatively flat. You can stay just like that if you'd like, or lower the chin, round your spine, which creates a little bit more space, which may allow you to go a little deeper without feeling like you're forcing your body into this forward fold sensation. So not only do we get this nice stretch feeling in the back because of the curvature of the back, but maybe a light stretch in the inner legs. Just keep listening to the body, pay attention to your body. Notice how it feels. It's different every moment. It's different every day. So if normally you can go all the way down, no problem, but today you feel a little stiff. So instead of trying to force or push yourself into the depth of that pose, lighten it up. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Now if your back did round and curve, let's start by lifting the chin, getting a nice long neck, which will help to extend the spine. Hinge your way back up. You might even press your hands into the floor to help guide your way back up to a seated posture. And once again, just come to stillness for a moment. All right, ready to transition. We're going to move our blocks out of the way. We're going to come to our hands and knees. So here's where you might want to use something soft underneath you. It could be a towel or a couple of towels or a blanket. Even double up on yoga mats if you've got an extra yoga mat that you can use. So we're going to start here, hands and knees. Mostly the shoulders are stacked over the wrists, hips over the knees. Cat and cow. Starting with cow pose, it's 2 poses that flow together, starting with cow. So we're going to inhale, tip the chin up, feel the chest open and move forward, creating an arch in the back. The belly kind of drops naturally as the pelvis tips back, and we create this back bend feel. Okay, then exhale, tuck the pelvis underneath. Pull the belly button up towards the spine, feel the roundedness of the back, chin to chest. And reverse it, maybe tip the pelvis back. It's an anterior tilt. Feel the belly drop. There's the arched back. Heart forward, look forward. Exhale, posterior tilt of the pelvis. Tuck it under. Belly button pulls up. Rounded spine, chin to chest. So that's the breakdown. But just move at your own pace. Experience the mobility of the pelvis. A nice undulation of the spine. You can even add on to this. Let's do that. This is kind of just, I would call like 2-dimensional. If you want to add a 3rd dimension, let's say, maybe a circling of the hips. Just getting into the outer hips a little bit. Maybe a few circles, one direction and then the other direction. Something that I like to do also in this pose is I'll bring the knees together. I'm going to turn this way so you can really see this. I'm going to bring my knees together, take my hands out a little wider. This just creates a bit of a better base. And then I can lean over to my left side here. And I feel a nice stretch feeling in the left outer hip, right near the hip bone. Feels good to me. And I, moving forward and back, kind of massages it. I'm going to do the other side. So this is just an extra thing that you might want to add on while we're on our hands and knees doing our cat-cow flow, okay? Little circles of the hips. If you need to rest the wrists, you can even sit back into child's pose or just complete 2 more breaths, cat and cow. When you're complete, we'll just hold in stillness once again to complete that round. And then we'll crawl off the blanket or whatever padding you might be using. We'll set it to the side here. Let's come back to hands and knees. Now if your wrists are underneath the shoulders, let's step the hands forward so your hands and wrists are out from underneath the shoulders now. Spread out your fingers pretty wide. Grip the mat a bit with your fingertips as you're able. And then kind of lean into the mat or press your palms flat into the mat to stretch open your palms. Go ahead and tuck your toes here too. We're going to inhale into cow pose. Look up, create the back bend. Exhale, rounding the spine into cat pose. Hold that sensation to give you energy and strength, bracing the body so you can lift your knees and then your hips up into the air. Experience the lengthening of the whole torso. Even notice how your chest kind of sinks, your head ends up right between the arms, downward facing dog. Looking straight down, just step the feet forward, perhaps to the center of your mat. That's probably where you were staring. Feet underneath you, then maybe slide your hands or fingertips toward your toes. Momentarily here in a deep forward fold. Feeling a stretch in the hamstrings. We're going to inhale and slide the hands up the legs to shins or knees. Hold here, half forward fold. Still trying to be as flat and long as possible here. Feet are firmly connected to the ground, rooted and connected. There is a bend in the knees. I feel a natural engagement of the hamstrings. That's good because we do want leg strength. Because we'll be balancing later, we want to establish leg strength. This is half forward fold. We're going to stand up entirely now. Shifting weight into your heels so your toes feel light. Bend your knees, lowering your hips like you're sitting down, but at the same time lift your chest, look forward. Take your arms out to the side, drive your heels into the floor. That too will engage the legs. Feel that. Then stand up as tall as can be. Let's get taller. Stretch as high as you can, reaching into the air, both arms. Exhale, bring your arms down to your side. So we arrived here in mountain pose. Let's just hold here for a moment. I'm going to have you flip the palms forward like this. And that also actually turns your whole arm at the shoulder, providing a nice alignment of the arms and shoulders. Great posture for the entire body. Just hold here for a moment. Take a breath. We're going to move through our half salute where we fold forward and come right back up, taking our time. Again, starting in mountain pose. Here we go. Inhale, let's sweep the arms up into the air. Effort to reach for the ceiling. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back into the imaginary chair. Maybe your knees don't bend very much, so you can maybe just bring your hands to your thighs. Carefully, as best as you can, folding. You still may need to bend the knees, but maybe this is your forward fold. But if you're able, maybe bend the knees more, tip over more. Pay attention to how this feels in your back and hamstrings. This is our forward fold. We're going to inhale, slide the hands back up to the shins or knees. Let's pause again in our half forward fold. Again, finding that strong connection to the ground with the whole foot, toe to heel. Engaged hamstrings, engaged core, those are happening automatically. Now shifting weight into your heels, bend your knees, sit down, look up, spread your wings, drive heels into the floor. Feel the energetic legs here. Using your leg strength to help stand tall, reaching into the air again. Exhale, arms down to your side. And feel free to just kind of shake that out. Maybe a couple more circles with your shoulders. All right, let's do our variation of Warrior One. And that too will start to help us with our dancer pose that we're working towards. Let's do our active mountain pose here. So palms forward. As you're standing tall, just soften the knees, start shifting your weight into your right foot. Make sure you feel planted strongly into the ground. This should lighten the left foot and leg. Lean forward just a tiny bit, even gripping your mat with your right set of toes. Lifting the left heel, you might tap the foot back or slide or step it back until it just naturally stops. For me, it's here. You're going to turn that leg outward and then plant that heel into the floor, shifting your body back, and so you feel very centered, very balanced and centered here. Place your hands on your hips, push your pelvis downward, at the same time feel tall up top. We're creating space in the belt line. So we have some space to turn to face mostly forward. Now inhale, extend the arms out and up. With the exhale, perhaps bend your elbows to about 90 degrees. Alrighty, so this is our variation of Warrior One. Now we're going to do something a little extra here that's going to help us get ready for our dancer pose. Hold for a moment. Now follow me. We're going to inhale, extend the arms up, straight arms. Exhale, bring the arms down, but bring them behind you like this, like you're reaching dynamically for the back corners of your mat. We're going to shift the weight forward into this front foot. We're going to come back up onto the toes. All 10 toes are pointing forward so that heel is lifted, hips are square, facing forward. Just like this. That's all we're going to do. That's the change here. This too is getting us ready for dancer pose. Notice there is a lot more weight up front. That's perfect. We do want that. Okay, notice what's engaging around the hip, thigh, hamstrings, your glutes even. All right, now we'll step forward, feet together. Let's extend both arms up into the air. And exhale, bring your arms back down by your side, finishing that side and just shake things out. All right, I'm going to quickly adjust my mat here, and we're going to do the same thing for the other side. So starting in our active mountain pose, palms forward. So we get the natural shoulders rolling back. All right, soften the knees, start shifting weight into left foot, strong connection. Lean forward, grip the mat with left set of toes. Lifting the right heel, tap or slide or step the foot back until it stops. Right there. Turning that leg out, pivot, plant that heel into the floor, balanced, right in the center in our little lunge here. Hands on hips, push pelvis down, get tall so we can turn forward. Inhale, extend the arms straight up. Exhale, bend elbows 90 degrees. We'll hold here. Now, we do want to feel balance. We want to feel the distance between the feet, or the sensation of standing on 2 feet stays balanced. We feel centered. Even distribution of weight. All right, let's do that little extra piece. We're going to inhale, extend the arms up. Exhale, bring the arms down, and then behind you. I'm leaning forward a little bit here too, but reaching dynamically for those back corners. We're just trying to get the shoulders back behind us, as if you're reaching for something back here, yes? All right, we're shifting the weight forward into this front foot, so we can pick up that back heel, turning the leg so all 10 toes are pointing forward. Being aware of the sensation and energy, we have shifted weight forward, so there's more pressure perhaps in the leg. Hopefully it's not in the knee. Okay, if it's in the knee, then you're probably doing this. You're too far forward. Shift back so the thigh, hamstring, the larger portion of the leg is carrying the weight. Now we'll finish by stepping forward. We'll sweep the arms into the air, finishing that line. Exhale, arms return to your side. All right, again, shake that out. All right, back to our mountain pose. Let's always just keep it active today. And ready for our sun salutation. Here we go. Inhale, extend the arms into the air, big stretch. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back slowly. Okay, why don't we pause right here? Hold right here. Again, check in with the alignment of the knees. Hopefully they're still over the ankles or heels. No pressure perhaps in the knees. The strength is here in the legs. Long, straight spine. Continue. Just start to fold. Let gravity take over. Hands will drop down. Head will drop down. Your back will round. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or knees, to our flat back. But the exhale, we're going back down towards your toes. Bend your knees more because we need to get low enough to place hands on the mat. And as best as you can, just start stepping, walking the feet back to the back end of your mat, drawing a straight line in the body, forming plank pose right here. Inhale. With the exhale, bend your knees a little. Send your hips up into the air. You might need to tiptoe forward a tiny bit as the hips rise, creating this inverted V shape, an upside down V, or something like the letter A. We're going to pick up the right foot and extend the right leg straight back. Now we're going to bend the knee. Hold here, because this is another test of how well the knee bends. Right here. Just bend the knee. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to send this right knee in towards the chest or chin while your whole body is shifting forward until your shoulders are stacked over the wrists. And then we'll set that right foot down. The heel is lifted. We set the left knee onto the floor. Pull the weight away from the hands so your hands are light. Use your right hand to go pick up the right ankle, picking up the foot, stepping it up higher on the mat. Replace the hand. Relift that left knee. Pivot or turn that left heel to the floor. Now again, the weight might be forward. What I like to do is rise up to fingertips. Start pulling the weight back. Here, my knee was way out over the toes. I'm just pulling it back so it's almost behind the heel. More pressure in that back foot. Rising more up onto the fingertips to help extend the spine. Now, this is more strength than the leg work. Okay, I'm going to suggest we bring our hands up to our thigh right here. Hold for a moment because there's still a lot of weight coming forward. Again, hopefully no pressure in the knee because it's behind the heel. You're going to feel this in the leg. We want this. Press into the thigh to help hinge your way up, facing forward. Let's finish with the arms, reaching up into the air, and we'll hold for a couple breaths. So this is our second variation of Warrior One. All right, so we're doing some leg strengthening. Why are we doing that? Because that's going to help us with balance, standing on one leg. We want the hip strength, we want the leg strength. Breathe in, Exhale, turn your torso towards the left side of the room as your arms come down to parallel. If you need to adjust your feet, I usually turn that left foot out. It just feels better on my joints. Again, keeping this alignment. Keep checking in with the alignment of whatever leg's in front. Be aware of this. We don't want that. Pull it back. Here's our warrior two. Let's take side angle. Reaching forward. See, I'm not even moving this leg. I'm just moving the upper body. Rotate the arms. Right hand down, left hand up. We're going to do something here, again for shoulder. Let's bring the left hand down behind you. Just to your low back is fine. Okay, even your hip. Hip is fine here because we want to have some mobility in the shoulder. See if you can move the shoulder, some circles. And then roll it back, pull it back, and hold it there. So again, hand on hip or hand behind you. And just hold that for a moment. Okay. Still opening, nice stretch in the inner leg. Checking in with alignment here. Strengthen the thigh. Hopefully no aggravation in the knee. Let's take this left hand back up into the air. We're going to come back up to a warrior two. Drop the back arm. Turn to face forward, reaching both arms forward. I'll flip the palms up because I'm going to fold. Bring the hands to the ground here. Rise up onto the tiptoes behind you. This is a runner's lunge. We're going to add something here. Carefully bring the left knee to the floor. If you need or want to pad it, bring that blanket or towel underneath you. I'm going to bring my blanket in so you can see. Once we're here, pull the weight back a little bit and just make your way here. Okay? We're going to get into this left hip flexor, but in a very mild way. We really don't need to change the alignment here unless you want to. You might just want to wiggle the right foot forward a tiny bit. Hands can stay on thigh. Now, it's easy to kind of be here and somewhat relaxed, but we need to engage. First engagement here is feeling tall, lifted. And then the other here is, even though we're in this lunge, this kneeling lunge, you're going to try to tuck the pelvis under. It's hard it might be hard for you to see this, but you want to feel like you're scooping the pelvis under, telling the tailbone to point that direction. It's a posterior tilt of the pelvis, going that way. Okay? And hopefully you're going to feel your glutes engage. You might even feel kind of sensation in the front part of the leg here in the hip flexor. That's what we want too. We want engaged glutes and an engaged hip flexor area. And then just lunge a tiny bit forward, not much, just to encourage a little bit of stretch here. Okay? This is also something to be mindful of too. We're kneeling, and so if you have sensitive knees, you probably do want to kneel on something soft. One more breath. And then we'll soften. I'm just going to pull back, feel a bit more relaxed here, and just kind of swing over to my left side, fold and bend, okay? So I have some room to actually just kind of move this right leg back until I'm on hands and knees again, right here. And since we're on hands and knees, just take 1 or 2 breaths, cat and cow. Let's do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to move my blanket. Set ourselves up. Downward facing dog. Let's step the hands forward. Spread out your fingers. Press palms into the ground. Tuck toes. Let's do another cow pose. Inhale. There's our back bend. Exhale. Round it out. Tuck pelvis under. Hold. And then lift knees. Then hips. Draw the straight line. Hips in the air. Ears by your biceps. Here we go. Inhale. Pick up your left foot. Extend the left leg back. Doesn't have to lift high. Just straight. Bend the left knee, just kind of checking in again how much the knee bends, how it feels. Stay here as you inhale. Exhale. Now we'll bring that left knee in underneath you towards your chest. At the same time, you're shifting your whole upper body forward, shoulders over the wrists. We'll set the toes down, left foot, heel lifted, right knee onto the floor. Pull the body weight back, less weight in the hands. Use left hand to go get the left foot planted up a little higher. Replace the left hand, lift your right knee off the mat, pivot that heel to the floor. Again, weight is forward, check in with alignment. My knee is right over my toes. I don't want to lift here. I need to pull the weight back, so I'm stepping the hands back, pulling my body back, checking in with this leg alignment. Put some more weight and pressure in that back foot. My back is rounded, I want it straight. So I'm just going to actually rise up onto my thigh with my hands. That lifts me and helps me to extend through the torso. Join me here because we want to hold here so we can Engage the leg strength. Since a lot of weight's still forward, thigh, hamstrings, they're carrying the weight. Again, no aggravation, hopefully, in the knee. Then press into the thigh to help you lift. Torso's forward. Let's take the arms up with an inhale. Hold here on the exhale. Check in now with the right hip flexor. Okay, we'll be getting into more of a stretch on the knee in a moment, but this initiates that stretch. Breathe in. Exhale, turn torso now towards the right side of the room, arms to parallel. Check in with your feet. Check in with alignment of that front leg. Then side angle, reaching forward, even a little bit is fine. Rotate the arms. Notice how I typically stay up high in this pose. You can do the same, or you can certainly go down lower. Just be mindful and careful. Checking in again with the alignment. Because we just did this tip over this left leg, there's more weight over here. How are you carrying the weight? How is this left leg engaging? Notice, we want to pay attention to these things. Let's bring the right hand down behind you, either to your low back like this or onto the hip so you have some mobility in the shoulder. Roll the shoulder back, hold it back. Feel like you're opening up through your heart as you send it towards the right side of the room. Feel that leg strength. All right, let's sweep that right hand back up into the air and then tip your way back up to a warrior two. Drop the back arm, bring it forward. Like so, flip the palms up and fold. Bring the hands down to the mat. Rise up onto your tiptoes behind you. We're in a runner's lunge. We're going to gently set the right knee down onto the mat or bring in a pad. Again, my weight is forward, so I'm just going to pull back a little bit and just kind of climb up until I'm here. And again, you may not need to make any adjustments, just being sure your knee is in a good aligned placement over the heel or ankle. Let's get tall, lifting up through the torso, maybe trying to scoop the pelvis under. You'll notice because maybe the right hip flexor area over here on the right, your right, some engagement. And then just to add a gentle stretch just by leaning forward a little bit. I'm just sending my pelvis and hips forward. Not forcing this at all. Just enough where, oh, I feel that. Okay, you're getting a little bit of a stretch and it's engaged at the same time. Check in with the glutes, see if you're still trying to tuck underneath with that posterior tilt. Okay, you can even just kind of give yourself a little squeeze there just to see if there's some engagement. And 2 more breaths. All right, let's disengage, soften a little bit. I'm kind of swinging over to my right so I can come down into that space with my hands, leaning into the hands. So I can just kind of swing this left leg back to a neutral position, hands and knees, cat and cow. 2 breaths. All right, let's do another back bend, one that we typically do in soft flow. That's our supported bridge, so you want to have your books or blocks nearby. So we're just going to sit back briefly in hero pose. We're going to slide off to the side, swing the legs around to the front. You just want to make sure you're sitting in the center of your mat. Blocks are handy, and then roll down onto your back. Some big cushions, pillows, maybe something from your sofa can also work with this. Once we're on our backs, feel free to bring the knees into chest. Okay, another indicator of how well the knees bend, okay? Even a little practice of bending the knees. You can even start to extend the legs up and then down. Up, like you're extending the legs, and then bend the knees. This too, automatically your core is engaged. Just to keep the legs lifted like this, your core is automatically engaged. You're connected to the earth for a little bit more balance and stability as we bend the knees. Now we're going to set the feet onto the floor. Feel free to take the feet a little wider here. Again, we want this nice alignment. You probably can't see this on your own body. You want to sense that your knees are over your heels or ankles. Shins should feel like they're straight up and down. Good leverage. Grab hold of your books, blocks, or cushions. Breathe in. Exhale to engage your core, and then lift your hips as high as you can to get your props underneath you. Then take a seat. Alrighty, so maybe the legs, they're bent, of course, probably a natural 90 degrees. That's wonderful. The hips are slightly lifted, just depends on how high your props are, okay, and how this feels for you. But it is a nice, I would say a gentler opening feeling through the hip flexor region. We did a little bit of a stretch in those lunges in Warrior One. This has a more relaxing quality. Let's take 3 more breaths. All right, when you're ready, just going to press the feet into the floor, okay, and lift the hips. See if you can hold that for a second, because it's another nice glute engagement. Feel the thighs, the whole leg really engaged there, moving your props out of the way, and then slowly return to the ground. Let's extend the body, extend the legs out front, reach your arms behind you just to get some length and space in the body. Let's do some more knee bending. Let's draw the right knee into chest, catch it in your hands. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing, maybe holding on behind the leg a little bit and just extend. A light flex of the foot, even feel like you're sending the heel of your foot towards the ceiling. That will extend the leg, maybe a light stretch occurs in the hamstring, and then we'll bend the knee. Keep the foot flexed, slowly bend, and just stop when it naturally stops. So you just know how it feels to bend your knee this way. And then lifting the foot, extending the leg for a stretch in the hamstrings, bending the knee, paying attention to that sensation. 2 more times. Take it slow so you can be very aware. And maybe the leg doesn't fully extend. That's okay. And maybe the knee doesn't bend as much as you want it or need it to bend. That's okay. Just be aware. Just know what's happening in your body today. And when we're done, we'll just set that foot down, extend the leg, pause for a moment as the body realigns, maybe even softens here. We'll do the other side. You might just bend the knee, foot on the floor, and then bring the knee in, catch the leg in your hands. Maybe the hands behind the leg, just support the leg in your hands, light flex of the foot, and slowly extend the leg, pushing or moving the heel towards the ceiling. Okay. Now I notice when I get just to the point where I'm extending the leg, my leg doesn't go absolutely straight here. I almost have to force it just a bit more to get into that full straightness. But that's fine. You don't have to go for that extra bit. Okay, and just enough where you feel an extension, even if the knee is soft. And then a bending of the knee in slow motion. Being aware of this mobility through the kneecap, flexing the foot so the heel feels like it's kind of moving away from you. Let's do it one more time. And we'll set the foot down, extend the leg, and just rest for a moment. Let everything soften, because that does affect the low back. Let's bend both knees. Roll to one side or bring both knees into chest and rock your way up to seated. Or what I typically do here is just bend the knees, feet are still on the floor, and just roll to one side and then press yourself up to seated. All right, one more exercise to check in with the knee bend. Okay, we're kind of setting ourselves up for boat pose. So if we kind of pay attention to the legs here, the knees are bent and they're kind of at a 90-degree angle. It's just tipped, okay? So just kind of check in there. Feet are flexed, heels are on the floor. Hold on underneath the knees. Use that as a way to sit up as tall as you can. So this certainly can be core work. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, engage core, and even lean back a little bit. All right, I'm going to have you, if you're able, lean back a little bit more. And because we're leaning back, we're going to step the heels in just a little closer. Okay, it puts a little bit more bend in the knees. And if you can, lean back a little bit more. Still hold on to the legs. Maybe step the heels in a little closer. What I want you to be able to do, perhaps, is have some lightness in the feet here so you can lift a leg. You're going to feel this more in the upper leg. Okay, and then set it down. Do the other side. We're just going to do 2 on each side. That's all. Because we're still really engaging core. We're getting into the hip flexor as far as the strength is concerned. Lift, like you're drawing, just the leg stays bent at this angle, I'm just picking up the leg, keeping that angle and setting it down, okay? All right, really probably feel that. Let's rise up nice and tall. Let's come back to that cobbler's pose. One last knee bend, okay, like we did earlier. So maybe bringing the heels in close, more bend in the knee, or slide the feet forward, less bend. Hold on to the ankles, just sit up tall. You can take a slight fold here if that feels good. It might feel good because in that boat pose, it does kind of sit in our backs a little bit. So we maybe want to hinge forward with a straight back or a rounded spine for a nice stretch. Couple breaths. Now it is time to get up and dance. So that's the name of our practice. We're going to get into a very simplified, I'm going to call it simplified, or just a varied way of moving into dancer pose. Alrighty, so we're going to swing the legs back around behind us. Take your time, just make your way to hands and knees. Maybe a cat-cow here if you'd like, just to get that undulation of the spine and movement of the pelvis. Step the hands forward, spread out your fingers, tuck your toes. One more cat-cow. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Lifting knees and hips, downward facing dog. Looking down at the floor and step into that space. Just step your feet forward until maybe you're standing in the center of your mat. Feet firmly planted into the ground. Slide your fingers toward your toes. There's our deep forward fold. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins. Pause in that flat back. Planted feet, even distribution of weight. We've done this before. Just feel this nice engagement in the legs. Now we'll stand. Shifting weight into the heels. Bend the knees, lift the chest, spread your wings, drive heels into the floor. Don't forget to feel that sensation of the strong legs. Reach up into the sky. There's our stretch. Exhale, arms down to your side. Shake it loose. Alrighty, now let's move into our balancing posture, our featured pose, which is the balance of dancer pose. I'm going to use the strap this first time. The second time I won't use the strap. All right, so here's what we'll do, because the strap is going to really help if you have some limitation in the knee bend, okay? So this is what we'll do. I'm going to take the strap, place it underneath my right foot, or just the foot that's closest to you so you can see it. I'm going to be balancing on my left foot. This is where you want to come near a wall, table, chair, something like that, but not too close, okay? But you want to step back, so you'll have to extend your arm, okay, to get it. All right, I'm going to even start putting a softness in my knees. I'm almost leaning forward a little bit into my little ledge here. Now, with this foot that's bound in my little strap here, I'm going to step it back, like so, okay? Heel lifted, kind of familiar like we did earlier. So I have a little bit more weight, even though I'm balanced against this ledge, there's going to be more weight in this standing foot. Check in. Are you leaning over like that knee passing the toes, or pull it back? We want it pulled back. So you're mostly in the leg muscles, not in your knee joint. We're going to pick up the foot, bending the knee. That's it. Okay? So I'm even going to kind of wrap the strap around my foot. This is the shoulder work. We get the shoulder behind us so you can hold onto the strap. Holding onto the strap that's wrapped around the foot. This is essentially our dancer pose. We're standing on the left foot in this case. It feels strong. There's a slight bend in the knee. I can really feel the whole leg activating. My knee feels fine because I'm not driving any force into it, and I can easily balance because I have my hand on the ledge. So this is our dancer pose. Variation. Alrighty? Let's take a couple more breaths. I would even encourage, if you aren't doing so, just pay attention, engage your core. Okay, now I can feel the leg getting a little tired from balancing on one foot, so I'm just going to bring the other foot down, bring it forward so I can get myself onto 2 feet. There we are. Okay? That's it. So that's how we're going to do it with the strap. That's, again, if you have a limited bend in the knee, maybe your leg only bends that much. So you may want to, since you can't reach the foot with your hand, you're using your belt or strap. Okay, I'm just going to turn around this way. I'm going to imagine I have a wall over here, okay? to lean into, and do the other side, okay? But I'm gonna grab hold of the foot. Alrighty, so standing here, nice and tall. If you've got something out in front of you, table, chair, or even beside you is fine. Soft knees. I'm gonna shift my weight into my right foot. I'm leaning forward a little bit, gripping the mat with the toes. I'm stepping back, okay? Just like we set up earlier. Making sure I've got my knee over ankle or heel, not over the instep or my toes, because I can be more in the thigh here. Okay, but I do want that knee bend and some balance. Use something out in front of you to help you balance. So I can pick up this left foot, bending the knee. I'm going to reach back. If you're able, grab hold of the ankle. All right, if not, use your strap. If the leg went out, because mine did, I don't know if you can tell, my knee is going out away from my center, and I'm going to fall. So I'm going to squeeze it in towards my right inner thigh. My right hand is extended out front. If you are using a wall, table, or chair, that's perfect. This is our variation of dancer pose. Balancing posture, knee bend, shoulder, in this case left shoulder rolled back, and it's a balance. Now it is also involving a back bend. Just because the leg is slightly behind us, you're in a minor back bend here. So that's why we want to kind of lift up and engage your core so you have that support. All right, we're going to bring this foot back down to the ground. Release the strap if you're using a strap. Arms down by your side. Let's go ahead and flip the palms forward. And let's take some deep breaths. That's our pose. Alrighty, that's the breakdown. So that's what it looks like with all the straps and the walls and tables and all of that. But what does the pose really look like? Here is a variation. Even when I do it, it's not the full version. You don't have to do this. I just want to show you what the dancer pose can look like. I'm just setting myself up here, tipping over and extending that leg back. So that can be our posture. All right, so we were doing a variation of the pose. Alrighty, so that might be something you want to work towards, but break it down. All right, we're going to make our way back down to the floor. Let's start a mountain pose with active arms. Here we go. Inhale, extend your arms into the air for a nice stretch. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees. Carefully fold, make your way down. Let's just hold here for a moment because we just came out of some back bends. Dancer pose, as mentioned, is a back bend. So let's just get the counter pose, which is the forward fold. Just to stretch the low back. Now we'll inhale, slide the hands up to the shins to flatten the back straight as can be. Exhale, fold. We're going to make our way back down, getting low enough so you can place your hands on the mat. Start walking the feet back. Plank pose. Right there. Breathe in. Exhale, bend the knees a little. Send your hips into the air. Downward facing dog. A couple breaths to feel the extended spine. We're going to go into child's pose. We're going to give you some variations here for child's pose. So we're going to bring the knees down. And when you bring them down, they're probably right underneath the hips. But you're welcome to take the knees wider. It just makes more space so you can sit back. Now, again, this involves a knee bend. If you're able, go ahead and sit all the way back, bringing your hips down to your heels. You can even bring a cushion, pillow, blanket underneath your knees to support the knees if you need to, something soft. But if you can't bend the knees this far, here's another version. I'm going to come back up. Use padding for the knees as needed. You might even tuck your toes and just sit back. You can stay on your hands or come down to your forearms, okay? So this might be your position. Here is where your bolster, if you happen to have a bolster or a big cushion, could come in handy. I'm just going to try it here, placing it in the bend of the legs here. So when I'm in this version of child's pose, I'm almost sitting back into something. It just feels a little bit more supported. Okay? So here's a variation of child's pose. Sometimes we call it puppy pose. And a few more breaths. Alrighty, if you're in this variation of child's pose or in the full child's pose, we're going to come back up slowly to hands and knees. If your knees went wide, bring them back underneath you for nice alignment. And let's just do 2 breaths, cat and cow, just to keep that nice undulation of the spine. And then we'll start to sit back. And again, if the knees don't bend all the way, that's okay, because we're just sitting off to the side. Just carefully make your way off to the side. Swing the legs around to the front, sitting in the center, and carefully roll down onto your back. Draw knees into chest as you're able. And maybe some movements here. I'm first just rocking left and right. And then some circles. A couple times in one direction, kind of full circles. Then the other direction. And then I kind of do these figure 8s, which feels, for me, feels quite nice. And since we did some balancing on one foot, let's just check in with the feet and ankles. Some circles here with the ankles, both directions. Flex and point, and if you can, even wiggle your toes. If you're holding on to your shins or knees, do that. Hold or lightly flex the feet and just take the legs wide. Just open up here, just to the point where you feel the natural light stretch in the inner legs. Just hold the legs in place. Feel that natural stretch, a nice hip opener here, or really a nice inner thigh stretch. I think it's a nice alternative to happy baby pose. Deep breaths. So we're really making our reconnection to breath after having gone through our full practice. I like to think of this as our ending practice, the ending sequences as we finish up our class together. Let's bring the knees together. Let's get into a twist here. Let's take both knees over to the left side of the room, maybe down towards the floor if they reach. If the rotation here isn't quite functional for you right now, no worries. You might want to place something either underneath the leg that's closest to the floor, so you don't rotate too far, and or place something between the knees. I'm going to place something underneath that bottom leg, and I'm actually going to take my other block and place it between. It just feels good. All right, that way you don't over-rotate in the rotation in this twist. And you got the support. You can just kind of hold and hang out here. Now as the knees go over to the left, you're welcome to take the right arm and extend it out to the right. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can always just rest it, just down by your side is fine. You can even involve your head and neck. Okay, since the right arm might be reaching over to the right side of the room, if you can and want to, this is optional, turn your head to the right, like you're looking out at your right hand, just for a gentle neck stretch. 3 more breaths. Bring the head back to neutral. Let's come back up to center. Hold here for a moment just to feel that realignment of the body. Then we'll take the knees over to the other side. Same thing, if you need that extra support, feel free to use that support. Your legs might make it all the way down to the ground with no problem. But if it feels forced, or it just feels stiff, or it's pulling, then you might want to use a prop to help minimize that rotation. Extend your left arm out to the left side as an option. Another option is turning the head to the left. And while you're here, just breathing. Now about 3 more breaths here. Notice how the body hopefully is starting to relax. Let's bring the head back up to neutral. You can bring your arm down by your side, bring the legs back up to center. Lifting the feet off the floor, let's just do one more leg extension, and as you're able, extend both legs. Lightly flexed feet, Heels are reaching for the ceiling. Hold. As you exhale here, feel like you're trying to press your low back into the floor, engaging the belly. Help support this leg extension. One more breath. And then we'll bend the knees, set the feet back down onto the floor. Once they've landed, nice exhale with a sigh. To let the body relax. Notice that shift, notice that change. Go ahead and extend the legs out in front of you. We've made it now to Shavasana. So let the legs go loose, arms just down by your side. You might want to keep the palms facing upward here. Settle in, make some adjustments, and as you're able, come to stillness. We have some time here for our nice meditation. So you're welcome to keep your eyes opened. If they are open, just softly gaze upward. Soften the eyes, or close your eyes. Tune into the feeling of the breath. Just as we did at the beginning of our practice, awareness of how your body is responding to the breath. This is part of the meditation practice. Perhaps feeling the rise and fall of your chest, maybe even your belly. Pay attention to the sound of your breath. These two things, very simple things, keep you tuned in, keeps you here in the moment. Mindful relaxation, meditation. Stay tuned into your breath, the feeling and the sound. Now you're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. This restful state of mind and body. Even as I end the practice, you're welcome to stay in Shavasana. Even as I come up to seated and end the class, you're welcome to stay right here. When you are ready, take your time. Before moving the body too quickly, start with the movement of breath. Just deepen the sensation of the breath. Maybe take 5 slow, deep breaths, intentional. And with these intentional breaths, feel movement return to the body. The movement of breath produces movement in the body. And when you're ready, take your time, move in slow motion. You might bend the knees to bring your feet to the ground. As you're able, roll to one side. You might even pause here. Gently and slowly press your way up to seated. Feel free to sit on your folded blanket or cushion. Nice and tall in the seat with an extended spine. And one last movement together. We'll inhale, extend the arms up into the air. And exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. Take one more breath in and out. And as we come to the close of our practice together, we bow, saying, Namaste. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.